We are Anka. Stay tuned for updated real news.
Hello, Anka Daily News viewers. We continue to bring you the hottest developments from the conflict zone. Dramatic events in the shadow of the war are triggering a new wave of crisis on Russia's domestic fronts. In particular, recent allegations point to a confrontation between the Russian people and their own army. Reports from the Kursk region of Russia reveal that civilians affected by the war are reacting angrily to the military's actions. This is not only a military crisis, but also an event that shakes the sociopolitical balance within the country. According to the allegations, the Russian military is reportedly confiscating civilian assets in the Kursk region and using them for its own needs. The Russian people, on the other hand, do not want to remain silent against these developments. There is a growing wave of reaction. Civilian society's reaction to these events and the growing anger of the local population against the military are creating a new atmosphere of tension within the country. In particular, the difficulties faced by the people in the conflict zone reveal the humanitarian and social dimensions behind the war. The Russian army's use of the property of its own people proves how the war has had a profound impact not only on the enemy front, but also on the home front. This has serious repercussions both militarily and socially, and undermines the sense of security and unity within the country. The most important question at this point is, what will the consequences of such damage to civil-military relations in Russia be? What are the facts behind the allegations of looting, and what impact will these events have on the course of the war? Let's take a look at these developments together. Before we get into our report, though, a quick reminder. The Anka Daily News team is definitely 100% real. None of my teammates or me are artificial intelligence. Even though AI is extremely advanced, it's still not as good as us. By the way, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports and explanations. We do read all the comments you leave on our videos, so please continue to share your ideas with us. Tell us in the comments what content you'd like to see on the Anka Daily News channel. And now let us begin if you're ready. Anka Daily News reports. Recent events in the Kursk region are shaking Russia's balance on the domestic front. In particular, allegations of looting of local residents' assets in some villages in Kursk, where the Russian army has taken up a defensive posture, have reverberated around the country. The news that Russian troops have arrived in the region to redeploy, but have started to use the belongings of the civilians in the region for their own benefit, puts the Kremlin administration in a difficult situation. The local population is outraged by these violations against their homes and property. They are demanding greater transparency and accountability for the looting of civilian property by the Russian military. Putin's government has long been under pressure from the military and economic crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. In August, the Kremlin sent some 50,000 troops to the Ukrainian border in an attempt to retake some lost strategic territory. But this redeployment effort has taken a heavy toll on the civilian population in the Kursk region. In many settlements in the region, Russian troops reportedly confiscated private property and looted homes as soon as they arrived. The looting in Kursk raises serious questions about the army's disciplinary problems and has deeply damaged relations between the local population and Russian soldiers. At the center of the events is the unfortunate situation of civilians returning from the village of Korenevo. Evacuated to escape the effects of the war, they were horrified by what they saw when they returned to their homes. The windows of many houses were reportedly smashed, their contents destroyed, and even some personal belongings had disappeared. Flares, military hats, and camouflage jackets belonging to soldiers were also allegedly left inside the houses. A local resident filmed a video showing the scale of the event, saying that soldiers entered the houses, confiscated valuables, and then left, leaving the remains behind. Commenting on the footage, he said, "Everything is turned inside out. There are firecrackers and military equipment everywhere. Garbage is left everywhere. Windows are broken," he said. As footage of the looting by the Russian army spreads rapidly among the population, public anger grows. According to public complaints, many valuable items such as televisions, computers, and monitors have disappeared. Some citizens have even reported that they have found items stolen from their homes for sale on the internet. A woman living in the Glashkovsky district returned home to find that her refrigerator had been stolen and later found it for sale on the internet with a photo of it in a field in another city. These incidents have led to a loss of trust among the population, and the situation is further complicated by the silence or denial of responsibility by government officials. While the looting has deeply traumatized the population, statements by Kursk regional governor Alexei Smirnov has only exacerbated them rather than calmed the public anger. Smirnov claimed that Ukrainian forces, not Russian troops, were responsible for the incident and tried to blame the Ukrainians for all the negativity. However, the people of the region find the governor's statements hard to believe. While the people blamed Russian soldiers for the looting, Smirnov's targeting of Ukrainians was found unconvincing by the people and was met with great reaction. Residents continue to complain to local authorities, especially in recent days. There has been a significant increase in the number of complaints to local police stations and requests for criminal investigations. People expect protection against such acts of looting and pillaging by the military in their villages, where they expect to live in security and peace. However, these incidents have once again brought the internal disciplinary problems of the Russian army to the agenda and may be a harbinger of a new crisis for the Kremlin administration. While these incidents have created a great mistrust in the relations between the public and the military, it's a big question mark how these difficulties faced by the civilian population will be overcome. The Kremlin's silence, despite popular demands and the local authorities' attempts to shift the blame to other parties, are making it even more difficult to resolve this crisis. More and more people feel that the Russian army is beginning to harm its own people. This shows how the war is having a profound impact not only on the external front, but also on the internal front. Russia's domestic turmoil highlights the devastating effects of the war on the Russian people. Civilians fleeing the fighting on the border with Ukraine are now reeling from the looting of their own soldiers. These events in Kursk reveal the deep mistrust between the Russian military and its people. Far from ensuring the safety of the local population, the Kremlin's attempts to reorganize its troops has left them victimized at the hands of its own soldiers. Far from preventing this rift between its people and its military, the Putin administration prefers to remain silent about this growing crisis. But the growing public backlash and the loss of trust poses a serious threat to the Kremlin. Moscow's unconvincing statements and attempts to shift the blame to other parties do nothing to assuage public anger, but only further undermine public trust in the Kremlin. What do you think? What do you think will be the impact of the confrontation between the Russian army and the Russian people? What are the consequences of such looting? Let us know in the comments. We read and care about your points of view.